And there we are. All right. Good evening, LinkedIn. Dave Wilson of the Ring of Hire Show. Hey, tonight it's great to have Chris Yarnell, founder and president of Battle Borne. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, David?
Awesome. It's always great to have you on here. I enjoy this show a lot. So everybody will be right back after this video, and we got a great show. I still love that video. I don't know how many times I listened to that thing.
You know, I was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, I feel like it was a Spartan movie.
Yeah, it's like you want to just jump out of there, So, but Chris, I want to thank you for taking the time again. I know it's our second time on the show, and I enjoyed it the last time. You are one busy guy I can see on LinkedIn all the time.
You know, all jokes aside, it's an honor to be here. I mean, to be asked to come back a second time, most people were like, oh man, I probably did bad. You know, it's tough for me doing stuff through the, I'm an in-person guy, so I'm still learning technology. I think I just learned how to copy and paste last year.
Yeah, but you've been LinkedIn. I've been following your pages. You're putting out great content every day.
Thank you. You know, we don't have a social media person, and I felt like when we started, just being transparent about what you're doing and where your services are going. I feel like people respect genuine. If that's, so we just put out what we're doing, man. We want people to see.
I'll tell you what, I got a lot to talk to you about because I see you're doing a lot.
Yeah.
I think I printed everything out on your website and everything on there. Chris, for those that don't know you that are watching the show tonight and after, I just want to start out. If you could just talk about yourself and the story behind Battle Borne. And I'll tell you, you're really going all over the place. I mean, the Lehigh Valley, but how it started and what got you into it. I know it's a great story, and you probably said it 10 times, but
nah. I just hope I can get it in. I know we only have like a certain amount of time for the.
Oh no, go for it.
So basically, after the Marine Corps, I struggled to find where I fit in, returning from military service.
Right.
And like most veterans do. I mean, I always share this when I'm asked to speak publicly. You think about it when you're going to boot camp or, however, basic training, different branches of service call it different things. I don't get into the semantics of the words, but, you're going through your training to become a soldier, a Marine, an airman, a seaman, whatever it is. And you have that 8, 6, 12, 13-week training period, then your school of infantry or whatever your job, your MOS, all those logical terms. You spend a lot of time training to become a military service member in your field. When I got out, there wasn't any training and very little preparation for returning. And it's not like someone who goes to war and, oh, now I don't know how to come back. Just in general, you get so adapted to military life that transitioning is tough for anyone. I mean, we spend 12 weeks, 13 weeks becoming a Marine, and then you're now here you go. You're back. Good luck. And you're like, whoa, I didn't get any training to become a civilian again.
Right.
But all this training to be a Marine. So neither here nor there. I struggled with a lot of things. I couldn't find where I fit in. I felt like I had no sense of purpose. And I pretty much squandered around for about 15 years. I wouldn't go to the VA. I didn't need the VA. The VA was for people who were hurt, who went to combat. The VA is for people who really need it. It wasn't until about 2013, a friend of mine who retired from the Army said, hey, man, I'm going to go out to this homeless outreach mission thing with a veterans nonprofit. And he said, you want to come? And I'm going to be honest. I hope I can say this, but my literal
Right.
words were, "What the hell would I want to do that for?" Like that's exactly what I thought, and that's
Right.
what came out of my mouth. And he said, "Just come on, man. You're not doing anything. Let's go." So I was like, "All right, let's go." Well, that day in 2013, I felt like a sense of purpose and meaning was restored to my life, because when I got out there in those camps, and I was just they had asked me to do security for
Right.
the vans that were going out. So like when the civilians would go out and look in the camps and try to find people who needed stuff, my job was just try to watch them and make sure that nobody was gonna, cross any boundaries or do anything to them. But just getting out there and seeing not just vets, David, how about just our local backyard fellow community members living that I had no clue. Like I had no
I
clue.
don't believe people know to this day, right? I mean, I've seen what you've seen on how you tell your story, but that's got to be incredible to where people don't even see what you see.
We live very close to Music Fest, and I'm there every year, and it's a wonderful event. And
Right.
I always think about this. People come from all across our country to attend Music Fest. They see the beauty of Bethlehem, and it's absolutely beautiful. Music Fest time, Christmas time, all that stuff. There's no idea about how many homeless camps are along that D&L trail. Because you're in the city and you're walking around, you're like, oh, this is so great. And I tell people all the time, like, if you literally look behind the wooden match, our friends, that's great people. And you start going under that first bridge, there's like 6 tents right under that bridge. Jeez. How many people cross that bridge to go to Music Fest, and all they're seeing is all the festivities? And I will confess, I had no idea that there were people living right there under my eyes. Like, it's not something you go searching for on a regular basis.
Right.
So 2013, I go out. I can't wait to go back out again. I feel such a joy in helping people, and like that sense of passion and purpose is restored. Because I always say this, and as a military service member yourself, unless you were drafted, right? And even then, some of those guys that I have in my organization, we have 2 guys that were drafted. Somewhere along the line, you signed up because it's in your DNA that, maybe you wanted school funding and all that, but you don't sign up for the military because something deep down inside, you want to help people, right? You want to serve other people. You want to help your community. Like those things are deep, and it might not be really apparent, but I don't care how bad you want to go to college. If you're not wanting to serve people, you're not joining the military.
No, my father made it. My father, all 3 of us, Army, Air Force, and the only one we didn't go was the Marines, but Navy. He just was that type of person. We couldn't afford college back then. Mm-hmm. And my dad said, you're going. And we went. I mean, that was just the way it was back then in the 80s. We listened to my father. He was like, I always said, why did you do that? And he's like, well, someone had to straighten your boys out, so.
I had a little bit of an opposite story. Dad was a Army veteran who served in Vietnam time. Grandfather was in World War II after Pearl Harbor. So he fought. He was a Navy man, a gunner's mate, right? I have his MOS tattooed on my thigh.
Really?
So I heard all the stories growing up, and then when it was looking at time for college, and school really wasn't my thing. I know I looked studious, but I didn't really care for school. So I said to my dad and my pop, I said, hey, I don't think I want to go to college. And we really didn't have the money for it anyway. But
it's the same.
So what are you going to do? I said, I'm thinking about joining the military. Dad, you served, and Grandpa served. And he said, well, what branch would you join? And I said, I got to be a Marine. We only have one other Marine in the family. He said, you won't make it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, he was a Marine. Was he a Marine or?
No, he was Army.
He was Army. Okay.
So he wasn't like, you won't. He was like, can't you pick a branch? He's like, you'll never make it as a Marine. And that was like, oh, okay. You challenging me? Like I was always wired that way. Like most Marines are. Like if you tell us we can't do something, we're going to do it. And then we're going to show you how well we did it. So so that's the only reason I joined the Marines, is because my dad said I wouldn't make it.
Wouldn't make it. Wow. And the story of your father too, and your grandfather and all that. I mean, I guess when I've known you and listened to your story, and then really, when you go into your website, and it really puts out a lot about your background and what you've done and been through. And it's got to be like when you said you went down to those camps, something must came over you like that, just to be able to say, wow, to dedicate your life and sacrifice what you've done to help people, what you've been doing.
Well, not all me though.
Right.
I want to make sure I'm really, really clear. I have a team. Well, first of all, my wife. I mean,
yes, you got a big team. You got 5 people in there now, right? 5 or 6 of these, I believe.
We're up to like about 8 or 9 board members. Okay. There's a lot of people involved, but like anything, there's about a good 30% are more. The thing I always talk about my team and their dedication is, I'm the only one on my team that does this full time, and none of us get paid. None of us get paid. No paid staff, all volunteers. Board positions, all volunteers. Now, if you look at all of my board, there's now, I think, 10 members. The reason you don't see it on the site, we're currently updating our site. So our site is still like running, but we're building a whole new site because we can't keep adding on to the existing site like from when it was originally built.
What are you doing?
So our good friend AJ at Bisson Creative is building us a brand new site. It's going to be amazing, so we can plug a digital calendar in there because we put all of our events on Facebook, and LinkedIn, but not everybody has not everybody uses social media. So so I don't forget my wife works full time at the hospital. She's also in school. Our case manager, our mental health coordinator, they both work full time in the social work field, and they're also in school. Our drug and alcohol veterans coordinator is a full time and a mom, a new mom. And it's like, if everyone on our team works full time, probably about 6 or 7 of them out of the 8 or 9, if I'm just trying to give you quick numbers, they're all in school to continue to better themselves and their education. And then you got so when I came to my wife with the idea, back to how we got started, it was like we started volunteering after that camp.
Right.
I didn't meet my wife yet. I met her when she was a part of another nonprofit. We were at a veterans event, and she was with 2 friends of mine, and we met. And just as time went on, and we started to date, and she had stepped away from the board that she was on, and I had saw some things of an organization that I was on the board of.
Right.
We got discouraged. 1, we didn't understand how nonprofits worked back then. 2, we just saw these organizations that we were a part of that were
right.
I want to make sure I'm very clear. They were absolutely amazing at what they did. When we would see veterans come to those organizations and say, hey, it's great that I'm getting help for this, but I also need this. And I would see the organization say, sorry, we don't do that. Or say somebody would call the organization and say, hey, I need help with my VA benefits. And the organization say, well, we're a support group.
Right.
Which is fine. And okay, well, something clicked in my brain, again, not understanding nonprofits and that they have a set mission to do and being understaffed. You know what I mean? Like now I see why they did that. But in that moment, David, that was not an acceptable answer to me because I didn't understand. I didn't understand nonprofit. I didn't understand. All I understood was the mission is to help veterans.
Right.
And in my brain was saying at any cost, right? At all ranks. Loyalty to the mission. The mission is we're here to help veterans. So I didn't understand. Young guy, wet behind the ears, wanted to save the world. But some things happened I just couldn't see eye to eye with, and my wife and I stepped away. And one day we were sitting in our apartment, and I said to her, there needs to be an organization that's willing to work with other organizations. And she's like, yeah, that would be great. And I was like, well, let's do it. And she's like, I said, look, we have this was 2018. Right. We had a little bit of savings that we were putting towards our first home.
For your home, yeah.
About to be married. And this is why I always give credit to my wife, because most women who you're engaged to living in a 1-bedroom apartment with a 12-year-old would say, are you out of your mind? When you say, let's take the money we have towards the down payment and start a nonprofit. They would be like, I think it's time for you to get out, But she said, let's go. So she's been my biggest supporter. She's the VP, co-founder. and she does so much work with the rest of our amazing team that was what allows me to do the things I do, because they're behind the scenes and they're plugging away each day, knocking out the mission. So yeah, that's how we got here, man. It was just, I hope that answers your question, but started serving at 13 and then just, helped
It's been
out.
How many years now, Chris? How many years?
So, excuse me, I just want to plug my Battle Borne company.
There we go, right?
My Tumblr by my friends Laser by Michael. They're great people, man. They made the Tumblr for us. So we started May of 2018 is when we actually got our 501c3 paperwork. But we had started the mission, we weren't giving away money or anything like that, but we had started doing the mission about 6 to 8 months prior to that. We were already starting to do the resourcing people, and my friends from the VA would call, because obviously this was pre-pandemic. So when I would go to the groups at the VA and I would hear a guy bring up like, hey man, in the group, I don't know where to do this. I would, after the meeting, I'd say, hey, can I talk to you? And it's, yes, here's a card, call these people. And it became so like, oh man, thank you. And it like I was able to practice the mission before we started the mission.
You must learn all the time though. I mean, aren't you? You're always learning something for the veterans. There's got to be so much information. And my wife wanted me to ask this question before I forget. She said, ask Chris, well, Chris, I know you talk a lot about it, but like veterans, how do people start to realize what kind of benefits they have or they could find out from? I mean, I know you probably get asked that a lot, but what is out there for veterans that they don't know? Can they go to websites? Can they go to yours? Can they go to, what do you tell people?
It's tough, man. And by the way, your wife's amazing. She follows our stuff. I see when she likes it and she comments.
She loves the show. She loves it.
Tell her I said thank you.
All right.
I recognize. Listen, one of the things my wife and I pride ourselves on is we also started because some of the nonprofits we were a part of, we felt they didn't support the people who were supporting them enough.
Right.
Like if you're supporting me, then I want to support you. It should be that type of relationship, not a show up, take the check, smile, and get the photo and leave.
And then get going. Yep.
We were a part of some groups that did that, and we just really didn't like that. So that being said, I watch who's interacting with us and who's following, and I always in my heart say thank you. So to answer your wife's question, it's not an easy question to answer. I can't tell you how many veterans do not like me. What am I going to go to the VA for? I'm okay. They just don't know. There are veterans to this day that I encounter that, David, I can't believe this. I encounter veterans and I say, well, do you use the VA? No, I don't use the VA. That's for people who like are real. No, the VA is your opportunity to take advantage of healthcare because you served. It's healthcare. Right. It's not always, people get the wrong idea. The VA just doesn't give money. It's like, oh, go to the VA, I need money. No, the VA is healthcare, right? Healthcare. It's healthcare. There is sometimes a financial component attached to it. And let's be realistic. A lot of folks don't know this. The VA is free for certain people. It's not free for everybody. It depends on how much you make, what your level of disability is. Like we have a guy on our team who is a union electrician. He makes way too much money. The VA copay for him is outlandish. Right. So he doesn't use the VA because he has benefits through his job. There are people I encounter that they don't think they qualify for the VA because they didn't go to combat. Right. And I'm like, who told you that?
I know. I've listened to you on that before on your postings, everything, that you need to check into it because there's a lot of different things that you could be entitled to. There's like a lot of things.
And I really wish I had an answer for your wife that was like boom, boom, boom. It's really hard because we did a speaking engagement a while back and I had 6 vets in the audience. I was speaking on the mental health component of what veterans face. And there was one kid in the audience. He's 24. He just got out of the Army, and he's actually the social media manager for a mental health veterans nonprofit. So follow me for a second. Ooh. So I said to him, so he's a vet himself. He professionally does social media, and he has said numerous times that he struggles with mental health himself after coming back from Afghanistan. So what's the point? I said, so since I told you that, I won't say his name, but I said, hey, so-and-so, let me ask you a question. You're probably a little more tech savvy, because I knew him personally, than the other 5 vets in the room.
Right.
When you returned from service and from deployment, how did you connect with other veterans? And he looked at me for a second and he said, well, I didn't. And I said, okay, so where would you go to find veterans?
Right.
He literally looked at me in front of all these people, and I felt like for a second I might have, put him on the spot a little bit, but he said, Chris, I don't know. Like, I said, well, what about social media? He's like, I wouldn't even know what to search. So it's hearing that out of a 24-year-old,
3-year-old, wow,
recently discharged from the Army's mouth, it kind of rocked me for a little bit. So the answer just kind of came to me. That's why I was fumbling a little bit. There needs to be groups like us,
right?
Because we need to be in places to give this information, because let's be realistic. You look at guys who, I'll say it this way. 2 of our team members, their PTSD didn't become apparent to them until they were in their 60s.
Wow.
These are guys who were in Vietnam, and they just, their whole coming back, they stuffed it. They just went on with their life. And then at like 69 and 70 something, they had breakdowns. And we learned that.
Do you handle a lot with PTSD, Chris? Is that what you see a lot of? Or like you say, when you said non-combat plus combat, do you see just as many of them that need that assistance either way?
PTSD is a very common term that we use. We're finding out now more if you talk to some of the people that are in the fight, like some of the professional people, and it hasn't been really, really delved into yet. But we're finding out now that not everything is PTSD. Some of it's even like there's a new school of thought. It's not new, but it's actually really, really intriguing if you think about it. But some of these guys have what we call moral injury.
Okay.
And the VA hasn't really figured out how to define that yet, so it still falls under PTSD. But if you're thinking to yourself, well, what is he talking about, moral injury? Well, I'm raised with a set of morals and values, right? We all are, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. Mine might be different than yours, whatever. The point is, now we go off and we get sent to a deployment, and we have to do things there, or we see things there that go against our morals and values. Well, that takes a toll on people, man.
Yeah.
So the injury becomes like, I can't really tell you stuff without talking about certain experiences from team members I have. We have a guy that, he had to do something in service that went against all of his values.
Right.
It went against all of his values, and he struggles. He struggles tremendously.
I can imagine. And you probably hear it and see it a lot. That's got to be, I don't know, for the dedication that you have, it's got to be, I bet you just want to help everybody. And it's got to be hard. But there's somebody new that comes along with something different all the time. So
to answer your question overall, David, our mission is not only PTSD. We see it. We do our best to help or refer to people who can. It's going to sound weird. I always feel weird even saying it. A lot of it's just connection. Guys they just need to get connected somewhere. I mean, not all the guys returning like they did decades ago are going to the Legions and the VFWs. Like, that's not a younger generation thing. So back then, you knew if you wanted to connect to other veterans, you went to the Legion, you went to the VFW. The younger guys don't do that.
I DJ for 30 years, and I DJ'd a lot for the American Legions. Now, when you go there, most of them are retired, 7 years. They're just leaving. There's nobody else. Nobody even comes in. The younger ones, they don't. It's the same ones that have been in charge for years, and they're really great people. And that organization alone, to talk to the commander there, you can learn so much just by going there.
I love the Legions. I still do stuff with the Legions. They're a great group of people. Yep. I get asked a lot by them. And the ones that are involved in the Legions, they're super dedicated.
Yep.
But you know what, man? They know it. They're a dying breed.
Yep,
right?
They are.
They are a dying breed, and I say that with the utmost love and respect for them. But they'll ask me sometimes, like, how do we get the younger guys in here? And I'm like, man, I smile because I don't want to say it this way because it's not always the case.
Right.
But younger guys who are struggling like our older guys did, they somehow know that sitting around and drinking and talking about it isn't the answer.
Right.
Like
that makes sense. Makes sense.
When we did that after Vietnam and after the 80s and all that stuff, that was all they had.
Yep.
And now we have more, and I just feel like the younger crowd, that's not their thing. Plus, some of these guys, in my experience, like when the younger guys went in there, like back even after in like the 2000s, and the older guys like, you didn't go to, like they didn't feel welcomed. Not always the case, but you get what I'm saying. It's like I'm walking into a place, I'm 25 years old. The guy sitting next to me is at least 50. What do we have to talk about?
Right.
You know? But like I said, they serve their purpose. They're great at what they do, and
they're great.
All hats off to the Legions.
I can imagine. Do you find, Chris, in today's world, like with everything going on with inflation and interest rates and everything that goes on with the cost, do you see a difference that affecting everybody too, as in veterans? Because let's go back years ago where things are different, but now let's face it, it is different.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see more veterans needing help? Do you see them reaching out now versus maybe 5 years ago?
Yes. And we see different problems. And that's why, one of the things, if you look at, I liked what you said in the beginning, it looks like we're doing a lot. We just constantly move the mission to meet the need. Like we do X, Y, Z. If you look at our services over 5 years, they've changed. COVID changed a lot of our services. We saw need and we rerouted the mission. Like, plan A didn't work. Let's go to plan B.
Plan B.
You better have a couple plans, because you know what happens once the first shot is fired, all the plans are out the window.
Right. Oh, that's something.
COVID changed a lot of the things that in the directions we were headed. We're still on target to complete our main objective, which is to have a veterans transition home, and we're fairly close.
Nice.
And but COVID rerouted that. I mean, fundraising opportunities were low.
Right.
Like you said, interest rates went up, houses went up. But then during that, we're like, okay, well, now we're not going to be able to get a home at 5 years, but we see this overwhelming need for physical locations because vets can't go to the VA. It's closed.
Right.
And the Legions were closed and businesses were closed. And
I didn't think of it that way. You're right. I didn't even think of that.
We needed a place for them to go. And that's when we went out and got the center. So what we did was people really for lack of a better term, I hate saying things like this. I don't look at it this way, but people were like, man, you guys saw that you were getting blocked here, but you saw a bigger need and then you moved. We shifted.
Right.
We shifted the need from the housing, which was still a need, but not in our reach, to okay, boom, the VA is no longer transporting vets. So we spent 7 months just solely fundraising and working on getting a van.
But yeah, you got the van. How's that going? You got that? Everything works well?
Oh yeah, it's great. We had to have Chrysler build it because during the pandemic, there was absolutely not one van in the entire country we searched with the specs that we needed. We were looking for an all-wheel drive. We wanted a specific brand because the seats go into the floor. So if we have to put someone's, if I'm moving a vet from the shelter to his place of residence, I need the seats to go down for storage. So we reached out to our friends at Brown Daub Chrysler in Bath. The general manager is a Marine buddy of mine. And I said, hey, Steve, I need help, man. I need help. He said, what do you want to do? And I said, listen, I need to get a van. I searched the whole country, every lot, every Chrysler van, nothing. He goes, let me talk to my guy. And they had Chrysler build it for us as a fleet vehicle. So we gave them the specs, and Chrysler took 6 months to build it. They had it done in 4. There were some parts we couldn't get because of COVID, but that was normal. But Chrysler didn't give us a discount.
Right.
We got it at fleet price, so it didn't get marked up too much, but we were able to purchase a 2022 Chrysler all-wheel drive Pacifica with a bunch of features on it to make the vets really comfortable when we transport them.
Because you have a lot of disabled vets too, right? That's that's why you needed something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not transporting wheelchair. We don't touch into the medical realm, but just getting them. So for the viewers' edification, the VA transports VA to VA.
Okay.
And now they've come up with some community care options, like they can do what we were doing. But in the past, what we were doing is when we didn't have the van, is we actually have an account with friends of ours who use a program through Uber.
Nice.
So we have a program called Rideshare. So before, if I can't get you, but the problem is, David, this is going to blow your mind. It's always one thing that excludes my vets from using the Uber system. Like, for example, we were transporting a woman and her husband. The husband's a vet. The woman is the spouse who takes him to his care appointments.
Right.
He's a Vietnam vet. They're both legally blind. So when they called from Carbon County and we're in Lehigh, we're like, oh, well, it would be more beneficial for us to send you in an Uber because you're going 20 minutes from your home. For me to drive to you in Carbon is 55 minutes. To take you 25 minutes for a 20-minute appointment, back 25 minutes, back an hour home. So it's 4 hours out of my day when I could literally send you in an Uber for cheaper than the gas that I'm going to pay. Right?
Right.
Well, the fact that they were blind, they can't get in an Uber.
Shoot.
So the second time I had to Uber someone, he had a broken foot. And sweet guy, was going into the bedroom and hit his foot on the end of the bed watching the Eagles game and broke. He was 80-some years old, so his foot broke when he hit it. Great man. We took him to all of his appointments, like tons of physical therapy and everything. Certain Uber drivers won't assist you with any type of device, cane, walker. You get a good Uber driver, he's going to help you in. Yep. Legally, they're not supposed to.
Right.
So, again, he couldn't get in an Uber.
All so that kind of things like that. It's something new all the time. I can imagine. When you see the vets too, let's face it. I mean, World War II. Hey, we still got some. You know, they're almost 100 years old. Well, they are probably 100 years old. But the Vietnam veterans are really the ones right now. Like, I believe that they should be in like their 70s. I'm guessing maybe in the 70s, right around that range.
Correct.
So I mean that's what's that?
Sorry, our two Vietnam guys are 76. And one is 75. So yes,
that's what I thought. It had to be at least in their 70s because I respect when I see those hats. When I see those guy at Walmart, he's always a greeter and he's got that Vietnam. We always stop with my son and we talk to him, and he can just rattle on. We enjoy talking to him. He tells us how he went to Vietnam and he said he married a girl there. So it's like, all right, so there you go. So, but it's just nice when you see that. Very rare the hats, like I said, those World War II veterans. Woo! We have a career. The guy that I didn't mean to cut you off. The guy that we were taking for his. So Larry, the vet we were transporting with the broken foot, he's a Korea vet. Wow. Jeez.
So he's actually only 1 year older than John, the Vietnam vet.
Right.
And he was in Korea when John was in Nam. So it's like, ironically, you think, oh, the Korean War, but this guy was still stationed there. So he's Korean War vet.
I want to go over, Chris, some of the services because you got a lot more things than the last time we talked. I wanted you to talk about the first one, how you have every Friday of the month from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. You have referrals to community services, case management, and vet-to-vet support.
Correct.
And what is that?
So that's our first drop-in center, David. So before we had our own center, we partnered with Northampton County. It was like coming up towards the end of COVID.
Right.
Actually, COVID was still pretty prominent, and these community centers were open. In Northampton County, God bless them, they had caught wind of what we were doing, and they said, "Hey, let's have a meeting with this guy." So I came to their government center, and we sat out back because it was COVID. We all had masks on.
Right.
And the director of drug and alcohol, who has now become a personal friend, she's amazing. I'm always going to shout out my friend Beth Miller because we're part of the reason we are here where we are is because she gave us that start and let us practice that thing that we thought was needed to see how needed it was. It'll make sense. So we're talking outside the Human Services building, and I do volunteer work at the Humane Society. So whenever I go to say human, I go to say humane. So I love animals. We're sitting outside the building and she's like, so, what do you guys do? And we're telling her, and she's like, I see you guys everywhere. And, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, we want to get a space someday where veterans can come and get connected to services and have like assessments if they need substance treatment, if they need mental health treatment. We have them assessed right there on the spot, and we get them into some kind of program so that they're not floundering around and maybe having the ultimate thing, which, again, I don't publicly say this. You won't see the word anywhere on my site, but we are suicide prevention.
Yeah, I know you were talking about that one time when I talked to you.
We keep that word out of it. We keep the word out, not because it's like, ooh, don't say that. Right. But we know a lot of veterans will automatically go, oh, I'm not calling them. I'm not thinking about suicide. And they may not be.
Right.
But ultimately, you get what I'm saying. So she's like, well, you know, I'm sitting with her and the director of the Veterans Affairs of Northampton County, who is now the guy that comes there that once a month for the VA benefits.
Right.
So she, you know, in her good heart, she's doing her job. She's like, well, why do you need to have a space where they can come do that? In the building behind you, I have a Navy vet who assesses people for drug and alcohol. And why do you need an assessor to do mental health when in that same building I have an Afghanistan and Iraq vet who is a mental health assessor that works for the county? And we got Alex here who does their benefits. And she's giving me all these plausible reasons why a center is not necessary.
Right.
The government building behind me has those things. And I looked at her and I said, the only thing I can answer your question is, I said, what's the word on that building? She said, government center. I said, can I tell you how many veterans won't come anywhere near that building because of that word? And I said, although that's not something I agree with, we need to work on changing that mindset with them that it's okay. So I said, here's how it works. I catch them.
Right.
You clean them. Like we're fishing buddies. I said, let me find them. Let them trust me enough to know that I'm going to get them the help. And once they're comfortable with me, I can bring them to you.
That makes total sense.
Excuse me. I explained it to her that way. And the director of Veterans Affairs from that county looked over and said, he's absolutely right.
Right. No, I was reading in your website how your vision was to make it like a home when veterans come in. You wanted to be more like a living room. You wanted it to be more like a home, just where they felt comfortable coming in there. It wasn't like a center, but that was your vision.
It is, and it looks like that. And you know what? Maybe next time we're on the show, I didn't think about that. There. I should have did it from there. I could have gave you the panoramic.
But and you're located right in the Allentown area, right?
Correct. But the flyer you're looking at is the Easton location. So that's was
what
the
I mean. So you're every, like, when it says Lehigh Valley, you're out of Lehigh Valley area too, right?
We're in Monroe County as well.
That's right.
So the same program you're looking at, we do that in Monroe once a week. So we started in the Northampton. That lady gave me a shot. She said, okay, I want you to pick one of our community centers, pick a day of the week, and go operate these services out of that center. Right. So we did it for 1 year under a contract. 1 year with the county. At the end of the year, we tallied those numbers. If I remember correctly, because this is now, we're going on the fourth year now with the county. If I remember correctly, David, it was over 500 veterans participated in our programs.
Wow.
140 veterans were referred to mental health, substance abuse, or some kind of outpatient treatment. It was 45 veterans were referred to their VA benefits. So that was like in 1 year of being brand new in one spot, 1 day a week. And that's when we said, all right, now we need our own center. We need a 5 day a week location. We had went to a couple of the counties and said, this is what we want to do. We're doing it in Northampton County. They're funding us to pay back the providers that we use for the yoga, the nutrition. Can you help? And they were like, well, you guys don't have a clinical license. We were like, no. And they were like, well, basically, in short, we were told some of the counties don't fund any type of peer support.
Right.
We're not a treatment facility. We don't have a drug and alcohol license. We're not doing those services.
Right.
So, ironically, I guess peer-to-peer is not looked very highly when it comes to funding. Although, you ready? If you go to any type of treatment, mental health treatment, substance treatment, they're promoting that when you leave the treatment, you connect to peer-based support services to keep you on the line of sobriety and mental health recovery. So yeah, Our government doesn't fund peer-to-peer. It funds the clinical stuff, which then refers you to peer-to-peer.
Peer-to-peer. Well, that doesn't. That's different.
If
Wow.
I had hair, I'd scratch my head.
Yeah, I guess so on that part.
So we were told, we have community centers already, but they were for drug and alcohol. So I just kindly questioned. I said, well, that's great. And I love working out of them. But let me ask you a question. What if a vet needs help and he's not a drug or alcohol addicted person? Why would he come to a community drug center?
Right.
And number two, do you have veterans that are staffed at all these centers? And they're like, no. I'm like, so do you realize that veterans sometimes won't talk to another person unless they're a veteran until they're comfortable enough to talk to someone else?
To talk to someone else.
So she just basically said, take your center one day a week wherever you want. I picked that center. You hold the flyer up. We now just signed our 4th contract year with the county because they see the value. And then we went and opened, when we asked the other county, can they help? And they said, well, we don't really have funding for that now. Right. We just wanted them to pay the rent. They told us no. And within 6 months, we had our own center because we said it needs to be there and we'll figure out a way. And we made a way because just like when my dad said, you won't make it as a Marine. If you tell me I can't get a center, I'm going to get a center. You're going to get it.
I asked you before, and I believe you answered. A lot of people don't realize, you talk about, men, but there are also things for women veterans, right?
We have an extensive female veteran program. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you.
Yeah, because I always was curious. Everybody talks about men, but I never hear, okay, do women in the military veterans have same issue? I don't want to say issues, but same thing, questions, maybe services or like that.
Women veterans are the most underserved population when you speak about the word veterans in general. They are they're coming around. We're coming around. We were one of the first. We also partner with one of our sister organizations who Jenny Pakinowski was on the same board of the previous nonprofit that I was on the board of. And she solely split out to do all women veteran stuff. She does great work. And we actually partner on one group a month where her team does it and my vets participate. And it's for both men and women, but they're predominantly women's services is provided by a women vet organization.
Right.
But we have our female.
Well, there are separate ones.
Yeah, there's just one in the Valley that tends to all women.
Okay.
But we handle women's components in our group, but we also don't try to reinvent the wheel for the workshops and we have one female vet support group. But Women and Veterans Empowered and Thriving have multiple throughout the month. So if someone comes to mind on a Saturday to meet with my female team,
right,
and they're like, we do once a month. But I refer to Jenny so they can go more. Because as I said in the beginning, sometimes, man, it's as simple as it's not every vet struggling with PTSD, every vet struggling with homeless. Sometimes, man, they just need to get connected to somebody else. That's it.
Right.
It's not this grand thing, man. It's just that human connection of they know where I've been. They understand me. Let me connect with them until I figure out where to go next. It's camaraderie. It's the camaraderie of the service.
Yeah. Cause I've never, even when I went to the VFWs and American Legions and all them, I didn't really see that many people talking about women veterans. You had the women's auxiliary, like fire companies and all that stuff like that. But for veterans, I never really asked those questions. I never really noticed. No.
And it ties back into when you asked me in the beginning of the interview about the VA. A lot of people don't realize, like, even the women, they struggle to go to the VA because, I'll tell you, we had our veterans case manager is still in the Army. She is a staff sergeant.
Wow.
In reserves. She's our LSW for veterans case management. And she's a social worker, and she is still in the Army, and so is her husband, right? And they've been in public where people have thanked Brandon for his service, and Kelsey outranks him. She's hit the sergeant. so they've said, thank you for your service, and haven't even looked at Kelsey, and she's the one. She's the higher ranking, not NCO.
I love it.
So it's that happens. People don't mean to do it, but we're just, like you said, the common misconception. All veterans are men. They're not.
Not. And I was curious if they had the same type of problems that men have,
Even more
you don't
so.
hear about mental illness or anything like that through a veteran that's a female. I'm sorry, I just never heard it. You don't hear.
No, you hear a lot more, and I hate talking about this stuff, but you hear a lot more of MST with female veterans.
Right.
Military sexual traumas.
Right. That makes sense.
It doesn't always mean what everybody thinks it means. It could be harassment. It could be, being made uncomfortable.
Right.
If you really want to know a very intriguing statistic, it's 1 out of every 4 female veterans are affected by MST. And I think the last number was 1 out of 8 males. Now, here's the part that blows your mind. 1 in 4 female, 1 in 8 male. So the ratio is double. Think about it. It's double for female, and there's predominantly a lot less service members who are female compared to males. So you got double the number, and here's the part that my hair already stood up when I hate saying it. That's just who reports it.
Right. That's it. That makes sense. Yeah.
So when you say 1 in 8 guys, there's probably a lot more guys that just aren't report. A woman is more likely to report something like that than a man.
Right. It makes sense. I mean,
and that's not my opinion. That's what they've learned over time of like when men come forward and like, why didn't you say something? And like, and there are women who don't say something either, but Kelsey has shared with me that more women will report than men. That comes directly out of a woman veteran's mouth. So I hold it to be true. Because I wouldn't.
Yeah. The next thing I want to hit on is I love that I see this all the time on LinkedIn. The veterans massage sessions you have. It's on the 4th Friday of every month, 9:30 a.m. to 11:30.
Correct.
You have a great person that does that. What do you see the benefits of that? Is that something just to make somebody feel comfortable, relaxed?
No.
Or what's behind it all?
It's deeper, man. And now you look at that, deeper, like a deeper massage. Look at that. I'm on.
Right.
No. So we term it massage. It's actual cranial repair work, like for people with PTSD, stroke, Alzheimer's, and depression. So CJ's amazing, and what she does is we list it as massage because we don't want to freak people out.
Right.
But if I told you people in recovery from substance, and especially civilians or vets, vets is a double whammy. So you got vets with PTSD, depression, anxiety. The difficulty that they have relaxing is like 10 degrees higher than a normal person.
Okay.
So I used to think when someone came to me like a couple of years ago and said, dude, you're doing yoga for vets, right? Yeah, we do yoga. You have all these connections with gyms. Do you understand the benefits of massage? And I'm like, nah, that's weird, man. Like, vets aren't going to want to get massaged. So the first person that came to me was a vet. He was an Army vet. And Jared focuses on the benefits of massage for relaxation with people with PTSD.
Okay. All right.
So I said, okay, I'm open-minded. I'm an open-minded guy. You're a vet who has PTSD. That massage helped you. So you went back and you went to massage school, and now you're doing that service. So I'm open to listen. Talk to me.
Right.
So he's like, so we gave it a shot. He was like, I'll massage for free. I want to volunteer my time. So I got 2 of our team members who have severe PTSD, and we're like, yo, would you? They were like, yeah, bro, I would do it. I'll try it. These are guys who wouldn't. These are guys who don't put headphones in at the gym because they got to constantly hear what's going on. Right. These are guys who still, when I walk in a place with them, count all the exits immediately and know how many steps it is to the door.
Right.
But when I talk about hypervigilance and on full alert mode all the time, these 2 gentlemen, they're what I'm talking about, right? So I let them go in and work with Jared, and they came out and they were like, dude, that was amazing. Like, I didn't realize how. So I understand now the benefits of relaxation techniques and massage in people with high stress level because they don't have an easy time relaxing. So and the massage,
see it, right? I mean, you firsthand, you see it, right? You can tell the difference.
You see it. I actually had CJ do the cranial work on me. Like, I don't go in when the vets are there because, like, I want them to take advantage of it. So I said, you know what? I support my friends. I said, I'm going to come see you as a customer. And man, let me tell you something. Everyone always talks about my energy. She could feel my energy. When I lay down on that table, she started working on my head, just tilted my neck a little bit. And doing pressure points and stuff like that.
Right.
And I got to tell you, man, I was high strung that day when I went in her office. And in about, I think it was 5 minutes, I was snoring.
That
and I woke up and I was like, I feel so like relaxed. She's like, you were out. And I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, was I snoring? She goes, yeah.
Yeah. That's the same.
Like, I knew at that moment that it worked.
Right. To knock you out like that. Jeez.
No, yeah. I mean, you don't realize I'm a go.
Right.
Like, I'm a go.
Same with yoga? Is it the same with the yoga also that you offer there, connecting breathe and movement? And you have that on Fridays also.
Correct. Yeah, it's all a part of our. Listen, man, I want to provide holistic based programming. Right. I feel like too many times when vets don't want to ask for help because right away it's like, oh, we're going to give you medication, or oh, you need therapy. And some of these guys don't want that. And then there are guys, listen, all jokes aside, there are guys who laugh at me when I say, look, why don't you try yoga? For yoga, I ain't doing yoga.
I see it, but then those posts look great. I'm like, wow, people look like they're into it.
They have fun. And it's we provide 2 classes a week for free for vets and their families. And then we also have a partnership with a group called Warrior Strong, who I love, Tom and his crew. They have an app that you can go on whenever they're having their classes, and you do it from your home. So it's like, we can connect you with that. We can connect you with a gym membership if you want to join the gym. We can help you with all that stuff. What
is the trauma-informed yoga that you have on there on Wednesdays? Is that something that, I mean, when you see the word trauma, is that some like disabled veterans or?
Excuse me, I'm running out of juice here. No. So the trauma-informed, yes and no. The trauma-informed yoga is more for people who have identified that they suffer from some sort of trauma. So let me give you the best way I can explain it to you is, again, this was not something that I thought about creating. Right. It's that we have a team member who is a Marine Corps veteran. He was in combat. He came home. He is a school teacher. And he had a really, really difficult time with PTSD, and they had tried medication, they had tried therapy, and he just wasn't feeling like it was working. His wife, this is a beautiful story, by the way, but it's true. His wife is a yoga teacher. So his wife started doing yoga with him at home, and he saw that it was helping him. So he went to the VA and said, look, I don't want to keep seeing these counselors. I don't want these medications. I want to try yoga. And they're like, okay, do what you want. So his wife did yoga. He went away on a yoga retreat. I think it was called the Veterans Project. Right. Upstate New York. Don't quote me if anybody's watching this and you find my information is wrong. I'm trying to remember. I'm 50 years old now, so I can't remember anything anymore. One of those yoga retreats for vets. Right. Wayne went away. He came back. He felt like a new person. He said to his wife, I want to do this. So he went and got certified. So how Wayne and Mary work. Now, this is going to answer your question. Wayne is a combat veteran who would not close his eyes in a room full of people. Right. Okay. Wow. So when he gets into yoga, he sees the benefit. So Wayne and Mary are a tag team. Mary is an amazing instructor and Wayne's wife. So Mary will lead the class. And Wayne will also be a part of the class. But some of the things that Wayne does, that this will make sense to you, is because we do this in a community center, right? Somebody might be coming in late, right? So you got people that you're asking to close their eyes in a room that struggle with some sort of trauma. Right. Wow. Right. Yeah. When you look at they're trusting you that you are going to watch their back and make sure they are safe. Right. So what Wayne does in the class is the people will listen to Wayne's voice. He'll say, okay, someone's coming to the door. It's a participant. It's okay. And he will talk through as they're doing yoga just to assist them, or he'll be there if they open their eyes. Yeah. So now it's not like we have people that come to trauma-informed yoga that maybe don't have a severe trauma and they still benefit from it because of the way the classes ran. So it's neat. Yeah, we're the only program that offers something like that.
Yeah,
Then,
there's there, and then you started a. I like that. I was reading on it, the Coffee and Connections.
yeah, I like that, man. Want to bring
Yeah,
people together.
second Friday every month, 9 to 11. And what does everybody just get together and just talk, or is it just meeting new people, like networking?
A little bit of both. So every month I have a host, right? So
Right,
let's say one last 2 months ago, Battle Borne. Actually, we've been doing it for almost 3 years, and we finally were our own host.
right,
So whoever hosts Unity Bank, Treatment
right,
Center, Recovery Centers of America were hosted, like just whatever program, whatever business. I mean, it's not just treatments. We had Unity
right,
Bank sponsored. Members First was a sponsor. So we don't ask them for money.
right.
The hostess job is you provide the refreshments. And
Nice.
then when people come, your table is set up with all of your swag, your business, your services. You want to give out call. People are coming to learn about you. But then after they're coming to learn you and have some coffee and some pastry or some
I love it. I
bagels,
love it.
they're networking with each other.
And offer a service too. They're offering a service too, right? Some of the guests, right? I mean,
Correct.
that's what they're
Like,
there for. That
yeah, I
is
mean, it's just
genius.
about, we can't, bringing those people in one room, I can learn
Right,
about who you are and what you do and how I can use you as a resource. Right? And think about if I had to go to 16 places in one day to
Shoot.
learn about what you provide, but now I
Right,
have a coffee group once a month where all those 16 places come, and a lot of them are repeats. We get a lot of repeat people that just come every
love it.
month because there'll be somebody new there and then they can talk to them and talk to each other. And it's a nice time, man.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
love
it's a
it.
nice
And
time.
then the other one, the last one here I wanted to bring up was the VSO benefits officer. So you have VA claims, veteran benefits from 9 to 12, and you have the dates labeled when they go on their website. You can see that. So is that where they can just come in and ask questions or what they need help with? Because I noticed on your website you had, like, for example, some vets home don't have cell phones. So it's hard for them to register. So you help that person
Mhm.
get to that next level. Is this something like that to where they're putting out the information?
So yes and no. The VSO's job is to either open up claims for veterans to receive disability and utilize the VA, or answer questions on existing claims
Right
and
there.
stuff like that. So let's say I use the VA, but there's
Right.
a process to do that. You just don't walk into the VA and go, "Here's my ID. I want to use the VA."
That's
Right?
what I figured.
So if you a veteran service officer is like your advocate that sets you up through that process.
Right.
I
Right.
like to use VSOs for the vets that come to us. Now, American Legion has VSOs, but they're called Veterans Claim Benefits Officers, a little different. The VSO is a veteran service officer. They're the ones that work for either the DMVA or the local
Or
county. They don't work for the VA. They work as a
okay.
government official who represents the veterans to the VA, if that makes sense.
Now that makes sense, sir, for
So
that part.
Alex Carrillo is the guy that you see on the flyer. He is the Northampton County Director of Veterans Affairs. I believe
Yeah,
Alex
and
is
then I love how you have that. It's on your LinkedIn page, everything. It's on, and anybody can go right there and see all the services that Battle Borne offers. And I love it. I like how it's done and how much you do. It's amazing.
So when
that
you
must
see
keep you
that
going.
flyer, when you see those dates, David, that's the day that Alex is going to be there in person at the center.
Okay.
So let's say you call Alex or you email him, "Hey, I'm David Wilson and I want to apply for my VA benefits." Okay, so Alex is very busy. He sends you back an email. You set up a time. On those days, he's allotted that time to be with me in
Right.
person. So you come in right there and meet him on the spot. So it saves the time of emailing or phone calls. Maybe you're a guy who works 9 to 4 and Alex is gone now. So you
Right.
got to send an email and you got to wait for one back. And this is a chance that I can walk in and receive it on the spot.
That is perfect.
Not the benefit, but the application of the benefit.
Application. I wanted to hit two more areas before we call it a night. And Chris, I know on the website, I love your website, how it has all the information on there, how people can volunteer. You can sign up, you can donate. There's different, there's your store where they buy the t-shirts and sweatpants and, hoodies. I love them, and I know you sell all that, so people need to go on the website. But what kind of, if somebody wanted to volunteer and they sign up, what do you need volunteers for, like during the week? What are you looking for when somebody asks, "Hey, Chris, I'd like to volunteer"?
Oh, I'm really glad you asked that question, because we just had a board meeting the other day and we talked about it. You know what would be great? Like I'm looking for veterans,
right,
who are retired. And ready? Civilians who are retired, or either or of those populations who work remote. So
right,
why? Because I am one person and the rest of my team has full-time jobs, is in school. If I found a person, for example, the remote person, someone's working at remote, they're just pretty much sitting at home, doing stuff on the computer. If I can have them sit at the center,
right.
I'm running around doing the other outreach stuff, the homeless camps, the food program that we do.
It'd work from there. I see what you're saying, right?
They can work from the center. So let's say I'm out and a vet comes to the center. They don't have to know a single thing to do. Open the door, let the vet in. Hey, would you like a cup of coffee? Here, have a seat. You want to watch TV? You want to look at the computer? Oh, no, I'm here to get services. Oh, you need hygiene items or food items? Come on, I'll take you next door and I'll give you all that. Well, no, I actually want to apply for my benefits. Okay, great. Here, we're going to have you fill out this application quick, and I'm going to call Chris and see where he's at. If he can swing by, He'll be right back. If not, we'll have him call you. Because if I'm in one space, I can't be over here.
Right.
So someone who's working remote, we have one of our team members does mortgages, and once a month he sits at the center because he's just on the phone talking to clients.
Right.
So he's like, I can sit here, and then that way you can be over here doing this.
Nice.
So
that's a great idea.
Like I need help with I'm always looking for volunteer van drivers. You have to have a good license now. Okay. Don't come to me with 50 speeding tickets talking about I want to help vets.
Yeah, right.
You can't drive the van, buddy.
No,
we pay really good insurance. Volunteer van drivers, remote people that can work out of the center. People who have a skill set, like, hey, I'm good at, rallying volunteers. Battle Borne needs a volunteer coordinator. The one that we had stepped down.
Right.
There's so many things. Like when people call me, they're like, oh, I want to help, but I don't know what to do. I say, well, what do you like to do? Like I never put people in a position that two things. One, it's not their wheelhouse, or two, that they don't want to do. I might need a volunteer coordinator, but I'm not going to make you. I would never switch my veterans mental health case manager to my volunteer coordinator. She's got a degree and she specializes in mental health. Why would I have her rallying, volunteers?
Right.
So we're very open as an organization. Like, what do you want to do? We have.
Are you still serving lunches and meals and all that you do? I remember you asking that you needed some assistance with that, and some kind the companies can volunteer workers if they want to go ahead and get a hold of you for that.
So we have a couple companies that come out every month. QVC will come out to Allentown. Nice. Their employees will come out. We had Niagara Bottling Company sent some of their team. We have a 2 or 3 vets that come from Amazon. Right. But to answer your question, every third Tuesday, folks, in Monroe County, Battle Borne hands out. The number changes because it depends on how many people sign up each month.
Right.
But we are averaging 60 shares a month in Monroe, and we already put our invoice into Second Harvest Food Bank for this month.
They're big. I love
this Wednesday. This Wednesday coming up, so in 3 days from now, Battle Borne is handing out 68 military share food packages, not meals. They get a whole food package. So that's the biggest number we've done. So that shows you right there, since we started these programs, when we started the food distribution, and this goes back to the question you asked in the beginning, are we seeing bigger needs? We're seeing more food insecurity now. With you asked this, and I kind of didn't answer it because my ADD went choom, choom, choom. I'm seeing the biggest needs I'm seeing now are veterans who are facing homelessness.
Right.
As compared to being homeless before. Now they're facing it. Rent has gone up. Their pay hasn't. If they're on disability hasn't gone up, but rent has gone up. If they don't own their own home, they're in a bad way. So food insecurity has become huge. And now I want to share this with you. I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but I need to tell you something. I'm going to self-disclose something. My little boy is in the room across from us doing whatever it is that he's doing. So we want to talk about, veteran suicide. I'm going to tell you right now, and I've been transparent about this the most. If I couldn't feed my family, not as a vet, not as like, I'm a man, but as a man, if I couldn't feed my family, the toll that would take on my mental health, I don't know what would happen. Right? I don't know.
That is.
Right. So when we talk about, they don't have food, that's in danger of suicide. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Because veterans, oh man, if I can get this point across to everyone who's watching, veterans have a difficult time asking for help. Not that normal people don't, but especially veterans and first responders have a more difficult time asking for help. And this is my experience, whether people like it or not. Right. If they ask for help and they get told no, there's a really, really, really good chance they're not asking again.
Right.
And then we know what possibly comes next. I lose all hope. Depression sets in. What's the use? People would be better without me. All those thoughts creep in,
right.
And that's why the number
you live it. You live it and you see it. That's the thing that you wouldn't think happens around this area. You really wouldn't. I don't hear about it, on the news as much. You don't hear anything. And that's why I love Battle Borne. I love the name, first of all. I love that name is so sharp.
Hey, man, we got to stay in the battle.
Yeah.
We got to stay in the battle. And
you know what? Of that name? How did that name come across?
Man, Dave, you don't have enough time, man.
No, you can make it. What do you do? How was that?
Can I show you something?
Yeah.
I can show you tons of pictures.
Right.
When you talk about female vets, my Aunt Theda was a Navy wave. She served in World War II with my grandfather.
Right.
I have a picture of both of them in their uniforms in World War II. Let me show you something real quick. Battle Borne came up for a multitude of reasons, but one of them was this, right? You ready to hold on to your, I don't know if you can see it.
I'm looking in. Oh, I can see it.
You see that guy?
Right there. Yeah.
You see that guy that looks like a penguin?
Right. That's you?
Me.
Wow. Woo, you lost a lot of weight, I'll tell you that.
That's in 2004, probably about almost 8 years after the military, depressed on all kinds of medication, you name it, right?
Right.
So I'm 180 pounds at 5'4", 36-inch waist, and just really hopeless, man. This is when I started getting involved right after this in volunteer work. So here's how Battle Borne came about. One day I'm standing, I started going to the gym. It was a real tough time, and I don't really go to the gym that much anymore. Right. I changed a couple small things, but now I'm at a good 161. I'm in a 32 pants, and let's just say my wife doesn't think I'm 50 years old some days, right?
I love it.
She's laughing from the other room like, shut up.
Yeah, she's like, what?
So to get here, in the process of going from that to that, and by no means am I like a fitness guy. I don't even like going to the gym. I see no good reason to run. I am not going to run.
Right.
If you see me running, a bear is chasing me. That's it. I'm not running.
Oh, it's funny.
I don't go outside and run up and down the street. I'm not running 2 miles and running back 2 miles. I just drive. So that being said, I'm standing in the gym and I'm with two other vets. And the one guy, he was a football player. And he joined after 9/11, so he had been in real good shape all of his life from playing football, almost going to college until 9/11 hit. He's like real big muscles. And the other guy is like, he's been working out for a long time. And I don't look like either of these guys.
Right.
And I'm in my head. I'm like, I'm 38 years old. These guys are younger. They look, what am I doing here? And I can't tell you where this came from.
Right.
But, from therapy, all my, long time, just being around positive people, the self-talk, understanding that what you tell yourself is very, very important.
Right.
And to speed this up, I remember I was like, man, I was thinking about how far I had to go. And this little voice inside my head, it wasn't an audible.
Right.
He said, man, stop thinking about how far you have to go and think about how far you've come. And then I said this to myself. My brain literally said this. Chris, you've survived more battles that would have killed people.
Love it.
And I said, okay, Battle Borne, born to be in the battle. And Battle Borne, David, is not about being victorious every single day. That's unrealistic. It's not about beast mode and all these things that people tell you like they always got it together. No, especially guys like you and me. We know if we look at history, our country has lost battles, but then has ultimately won wars.
Right. Yeah.
You can lose a battle. You can get up tomorrow. You could get up tomorrow, Dave, and say, this is going to be a bad day. And you might go through and just barely get through. But as long as you stay in the fight and you get back up the next day, that's okay. You're not going to be, every day is not going to be, the greatest day ever. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, but just don't quit. And then here's my free plug. Don't quit. And
okay,
I'm not going to say it, but this is our mental health shirt.
Right. Mental health matters. Love it. Love it. Love it.
That's our shirt to remind people to keep effing going. No matter what you're thinking, just keep going. Put one foot in front of the other and just keep marching, because sometimes if you get caught up in the emotions, you can't see the forest through the trees. So you got to get out of the forest, man. You got to keep going. And this shirt was made in honor of an Air Force vet who unfortunately took his life this September.
Yeah, I saw the story of that. I was asking you about that. That must have been an emotional thing.
It was, man. His family reached out to us and said, is there something we could do in his memory?
Right.
And I said, yeah. And it was in May. And I said, hey, June is Mental Health Month for men. And we had talked about putting his name on the back of the shirt. And then, I thought about it after that. And the family and I agreed. I said, I'm afraid, though, if we put his name on the shirt, people who don't know him might not. They might not buy the shirt. Do you know how many people don't buy a Battle Borne shirt because they think because they didn't serve, they can't wear a Battle Borne shirt?
No, that's crazy. Well,
I still get people that say, oh, man, I really love your stuff, but I'm not a vet. This applies to everybody. And Battle Borne applies to everybody. Listen, man, everyone is facing a battle whether they want to tell you about it or not.
I love it. I love that name. Yeah, the name, the color of it, it just looks sharp.
I want to ask you one last question. I know your viewers are going to probably turn me off after 5 minutes, but you know where Battle Borne also comes from?
What's that?
And that day in the gym, when I came up with the name, I started thinking about it. People ask me this, and I noticed you didn't yet, but maybe you'll think about it when I tell you. Why is Borne spelled with an E?
I do have to look when I typed it in because I knew it was differently, but that is true. I don't know why.
Well, one, it has something to do with the proper English, and back then they used it with an E, but that's not really it. If you look up Abraham Lincoln's inaugural speech, right? It's actually written in the VA, and my hair the first time I came up with the name and I saw the quote, since I hadn't saw it since high school, right? Because who's learning about Abraham Lincoln in your adult life?
Right.
Abraham Lincoln had a vision for our country. And the vision was he wanted to care for the widow and the orphan of those who borne the battle. So when the people we lost in war, he wanted to take care of their families or ones that returned. We want to take care of those who borne the battle. And born is spelled with an E.
And that's how he spelled it.
That's how he spelled it. And I think about this often. Lincoln had that vision 200 and some years ago. Right. And people say to me, yo, we're still not doing that as a nation. No. And I say, well, we've gotten better. Right. Because you won't hear a lot of negative things come out of my mouth. I don't want you to tell me about the problem. I want you to tell me how we're going to fix it.
How are you going to fix it?
We already know the problem. Right? Yep. People come in, well, what do you think about the VA? The VA. You know what I tell them? And I'm going to tell all the viewers right here too. Probably that coffee kicked in too much. Right. Here's what I tell them. My wife works for a major hospital, which we will leave unnamed. Right. They're all over. I've gotten the same not so good service at that hospital that I have at the VA.
Right.
So
that is changing a lot, isn't it? A lot of it has.
You know what I love about the VA? Here's what I love about it. Number one, they're understaffed.
Right.
So when we talk about the VA, we're mostly talking about the providers who can't keep up. It's not their fault, right?
Right.
Again, I'm not saying that things that slip through the cracks at the VA, yes, it happens. But here's what I want to say. Well, I won't get into my usual tangent. Here's what I'll say. The VA is the largest healthcare system in our country. For us to expect it to be flawless is unrealistic. You can't convince me, and I'd love for somebody to sit down and try to show me one system we have in this country that's perfect.
Right.
The justice system has flaws. The welfare system has flaws.
Yep. Children
and youth system. How many times do we hear about those systems dropping the ball in some area? You can't expect a system to run flawlessly, and we're talking about the largest healthcare system in the country.
Yeah. I never would have thought that.
No. So, but when you tell people that, they're like, oh, yeah, you know, and they have really done an excellent job of using more community partners. We now are a community partner of the VA. When 10 years ago, with all due respect, they didn't, like, you couldn't really partner up with the VA. They weren't so like, no, they were the VA and they were separate. But they saw over time, I really feel in my heart, that new leaders came in and said, listen, guys, we can't keep up. And there's all these great community organizations and they're bridging our gaps. Why don't we work with them?
Right. It makes total sense.
I transport for the VA, Dave. The VA calls me and says, hey, Chris, we got a vet that's going to go from his house to Coatesville PTSD program.
Right.
Okay. Well, can you take him? Because we only transport VA to VA. He's not leaving from here. Right. So I'll go pick the guy up and drive him to Coatesville. Like his social, like it's not the director of the VA doesn't call me, but it's like a social worker will call and say, hey, or they'll give the vet Battle Borne's phone number now. They didn't do that when we first started.
Nice.
I remember I'll say this. I go into VA when we first started our first support group, and I said to the lady at the desk, I was there for my appointment. I said, hey, can I leave this flyer here on the counter? She said, well, what is it? I said, it's for a veteran support group. She said, hold on, let me ask my boss. She came back. She said, we can't do that. I said, why? She goes, because we don't do that. The VA doesn't allow those things to be promoted in here.
Promoting it.
No.
Wow, that's
so, that was 2015 when I was a part of another organization. Here we are in 2024, and now the VA calls me.
Do you have a vision, Chris? Do you have a vision like where in 5 years, 10 years, you just it's just year by year?
No, man, it's listen, it's guys like you. You know, I'm not the hero, man. I'm just doing what I think. It's like I respect what you do so much. I mean, with the whole, the hiring and the businesses and getting people educated to what veterans need and how, like that's big. Everybody, we're all playing a part, man.
I love when you say that because that's the truth. Everybody has a part.
Here's how I look at things. There's no big I's and no little U's.
Right.
And I always tell my team, if everyone does a little, no one has to do a lot.
And corporations can reach out to you also. And I've noticed, like,
absolutely, man. I want to start building.
I saw the Iron Pigs. They help you out a lot. I saw you got that shirt that was signed.
Oh man, we got to listen.
I love it.
Tell the viewers I apologize, but
that's all right.
You can't get me talking about this. See, I don't think about this until you talk about it, and I realize like how beautiful it is. We got chosen from the pigs. They said, Chris, get some of your vets. They told me at first they wanted us to model a new T-shirt. They didn't, we didn't need handsome guys or beautiful girls. Just get some vets to model these shirts for us. We're like, all right. So I called 3 of my team members besides me. One of the guys has a service dog. And I said, come on, we'll go over there. It'll be great picture opportunity. You'll have Luke in the picture. We'll model the shirts. So we get there and they're like, hey, change of plans. So I'm like, okay. I'm looking at the guys and they're like, well, you told us we're modeling T-shirts. So they said, listen, we want you guys. We're going to put you on camera, and we're going to show you our Hometown Heroes collection jerseys and military caps that we're going to release on July.
Love it.
And we want to see your reaction to them when we show you. No one has seen them.
Right.
No one.
Love it.
And we're like, okay. And they literally filmed our reactions. Like, they asked us questions, and then they brought out the jersey and caught our like 100% raw emotion on the jerseys. And listen, I've done really, really well this whole interview. I normally slip a curse word or two.
That's it.
When they had the vision, the cameras on me, and they were like, what do you think? I said, that's bad ass. Right? I said it. And I said, oops. And I said, don't cut that out. I said, you're probably going to want to cut that out. And they're like, well, we'll see. It played in front of the whole stadium, me saying that's badass.
That's badass. I love it.
They didn't cut it out. So so we got to see those jerseys, and then they raffled them, and we got half of the proceeds. It was a huge honor to be chosen by the Pigs.
That's awesome.
When the Iron Pigs are looking at, David, we are a grassroots, no government grant nonprofit.
Right.
So when the Pigs are looking at you, like, we're the little guys.
Yep.
And they're choosing you, it's heartwarming. So we go to pick up the check. They call us and say, hey, we tallied up all the raffle. We have a check for you. Come pick it up. I took my son with me, and you saw the pictures. And they surprised me with, so everyone who bid on the jersey,
right,
they bid on whatever player they want, and it was signed by that player.
Nice.
So let's say you bid on, John Smith's jersey, number 45. He's a outfielder. If you bid the most money, you got the jersey signed by him that he wore. By the way, they all wore the jerseys too.
Right. I love it.
So I wouldn't, no offense, I wouldn't have wanted a jersey that they wore on a hot night and sweated in it, and then they had to wear it again because the players liked the jersey so much they wore them the first night they saw them when they weren't supposed to.
And they weren't. Oh my God.
No, the managers came and said, you're not supposed to wear those. Those are for the July 3rd game. And they said, no, we like these. We're wearing them tonight. So they wore the jerseys on a super hot night, took them off, hung them in their locker, wore them again when they were supposed to. They don't get washed, and then they give them to the person that bid on them.
Oof.
So you're buying like an extremely stinky, sweaty jersey. That's
dried out.
When I go to get the check, I'm going to do this the best I can without crying. They give me the check. You know what was more important to me than the check?
What's the shirt?
They said, hey, by the way, we didn't tell you this before, but we ordered one extra jersey.
Right.
And they go, everyone who raffled the jersey got it signed by their player. But this jersey is signed by all 32 Iron Pigs players.
Nice.
And it's the authentic. So when you bid on that jersey, you got the authentic. Right. Every jersey that was sold was a you there?
Yeah, but it just froze for a second. You're good.
The ones that the Pigs wore were the real MLB jerseys, and you couldn't buy those in the store. You bought the replicas.
Nice.
So they handed me an authentic MLB Iron Pigs Hometown Hero jersey signed by every player, and they were laughing at me because I was more excited about the jersey than the check.
Because
that's how I am, man. Like,
yeah, well, you know what? You worked, and that's just something. Who else has got that? I mean, especially if there's anybody from the Philly. They always have the pros in there too, right?
They did. And when we were watching the game at the time, Rojas was up.
Right. Yep.
He was down. Rojas was minor leaguing. The guy from the Phillies.
Right. That's what I thought. Yeah, they do all that kind of stuff. So that is awesome.
It's just really neat, man. It's really neat to, one of the other things I want to incorporate, and I'll let you go, is you talked about how do we need help, man. I'd love to find someone that is connected with many businesses that could go and present our mission and get like corporate sponsorships, like
Sponsorships, yeah.
We did purchase one house. We're about to open one veterans home in Easton.
Right.
It's being repaired right now, and maybe having companies say, "Hey, I'll sponsor $100 a month to help with a veteran's rent," or I'll sponsor, I'll buy all the toilet paper and paper towel, things like that. Like how people can contribute. Because listen, there's two ways to contribute. There's time. There's three ways. There's time, money, or resources. And a lot of people don't have time, so they'll say, "Here's some money." We don't ask for money, but I'll say, "Hey, I don't want your money, but if you want to purchase something, you want to purchase this for the house, stuff like that."
Makes total sense.
If anybody's watching and wants to get involved, it's better to tell you just to have a conversation. Give me a call, and we'll see what you can do. I mean, there's always ways. We have tons of ways.
No, I love it. But I want to thank you. Wow, this is the longest show I've ever done in 5 years. 1 hour and 25 minutes. No, I love it. I love it. No,
I'm sorry, guys, but you know what? This is one of the things you get when you ask me to talk about the mission. You get to see like what's really behind it, and it's like I want to bring as many people as I can together to help wherever we can. That's it.
And just getting your name and getting the thing out there. I mean, I've seen you on 69 News. I think I've seen you on the news a lot. You're always on there. That seems like you're doing something. And go to the LinkedIn page. That's where I learned a lot. Just tonight, I was like, wow, you've been putting a lot out on there. The website is really good. It's got a lot of information of everything that you do and all your stories that we talked about. I think I didn't even get to this part. So we're definitely going to have you back again next month.
What was that stuff you had?
Oh my God, Chris, oh my God. I spent all day today, I think, going over every single word in your website and everything about you.
This is why David's the man, guys. Everybody, thank you for supporting him. This is what makes it great. Look at that.
Yeah, I love it. And there's because of people, I guess, because with the DJing that I've done and donated a lot of time for charities. I take my son now. We donate our time with the music, stuff like that. It's rewarding. It's nice to get paid, but then when you don't, but you see the results of it. Like we do a lot with where they shave the kids' parents' heads for Saint. I think it's Saint. What is that called? Hold on a second.
Is it St. Jude?
Oh, yeah, it's for that where they shave all their heads, and then they bring the child that has the cancer right there at the center. So all that money that you're doing, you can see it right there. Where your money's going to. When you see that small child like that, that's really diagnosed with the cancer, and you're like, oh my God, then it makes it all worth it.
And you just said something that's so powerful, and I hope the viewers hear this. Because you said it, and I'm just going to reiterate it. Even if my mission is not on your heart to donate, right? I always tell people this. I don't care if it's not me. If you want to support something, look in your own backyard first. Because I feel like I get a lot of people that walk up to me and they're like, "Oh, hey man, I donated," and they donate to the big one that everyone knows.
Right.
And and for years I would say, "Great, awesome," and then they would say, "Yeah, but you know what?" Then people started saying to me, "I donate to so-and-so." And I'm like, "Oh, great."
Right.
I don't even know what they do. So I started asking questions. Well, how did you find out about so-and-so? Oh, I saw the commercial.
Right.
Okay, so where's the closest so-and-so location to your home? Well, I don't know.
Right.
So you don't know what they do. You don't know where they're located. And what does your money go to? I don't know. But they keep sending me pens, T-shirts, and hats.
Right.
And I don't want the T-shirts, pens, and hats. I want my money to help people. So it's amazing to see their face when they start to realize, like, oh my God, I send these people money. I don't even know where it goes. I gently say, hey man, there's tons of people in need in our own communities.
In the communities, and that's what a lot of people don't realize.
Community to help. If we all took care of our own communities, each section, right? But when we're sending money and resources to other areas and we're forgetting the people in our own backyard, then we see, like we talked about.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it does. That makes a lot. So, but I want to thank you, sir, so much, and I appreciate it, and I can't wait to have you back on again. And do you have anything coming up that you want to promote? Do you have something coming up right now? I know you just did the big walk, right? You did.
We had our mental health walk.
Yeah, you did that. You really had that out there for a while.
We had the mental health walk in June. It was a great experience again, 4th year in a row. And now we're we don't have any events that we are putting on. We're going to be at a couple events coming up.
Right.
The only thing is, I say the biggest event we have coming up is the food shares. So like next Wednesday, my team will be at our Allentown Center, 36 South 6th Street, the Veterans Resource, Battle Borne's Veterans Resource Center. That's the one that we own. We'll be there and 12 to 4, and then the trucks will come and we'll separate all the food, and the families will pull up. 68 families will pull up, and 68 families will receive a full military food share package. All of our services, David, are free, 100% for veterans, first responders, and their families. We don't charge for any of our services. Those massages you talked about, we pay the provider. She does the massage. It's free for the vet. It costs us. It doesn't cost them. So that's the type of stuff, the financial. And massage is just one component. We only do that once a month. It's not like we are offering a massage. We don't have a massage parlor.
Like that. That's
like, don't call me tomorrow and go, hey, I want a massage.
Yeah, I want a massage. It's like, hey,
we're not doing that's not our. It's part of the mission. It's not.
I love it.
Want to be
all
clear.
right, Chris, I'm going to talk to you right after this video, but thank you so much. And please, anybody who wants to donate time or donations, corporations, just go on. They're on LinkedIn. They're very active on LinkedIn, Chris is, and also the website. And I'm sure you're on every Google that you can think of, Battle Borne.
Don't forget to eat.
All right. I'll talk to you right after this, Chris.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
You're welcome. Thank you.